How people got rich hundreds of years ago. Imagine living in a world with no banks, no internet, no stock market yet. Some people were richer than today's billionaires. How? They didn't invent apps or trade crypto. They owned people, privileges, and power. This is the story of how the richest people hundreds of years ago built empires and how almost every one of them eventually lost it all. Let's start with a shocking truth. Most old fortunes didn't come from hard work. They came from control. Control of land, control of taxes, control of trade. If you could convince a king to give you the right to collect taxes in one region, congratulations, you were rich. If you could get permission to trade one product, salt, gold, silk, spices, you became untouchable. This was the world of monopolies and royal favors. And those favors could turn a nobody into the richest person in Europe overnight. Example 1. The Fuggers. They started as simple weavers in Germany. But soon, they discovered something smarter than weaving cloth. They started weaving debt. They loaned money to kings, popes, and emperors. And when those rulers couldn't repay, the Fuggers didn't ask for cash. They took mines, lands, and rights. They ended up controlling Europe's silver supply. For decades, they financed wars and crowned emperors. But the same kings who made them rich eventually destroyed them. When the royal debts collapsed, so did the Fugger fortune. Example 2. The Medici. Florence, 1400s. They weren't soldiers or kings, they were bankers. But they learned that money alone wasn't enough. To survive, they needed influence. They funded popes, princes, and artists like Michelangelo. They built cathedrals, bought loyalty, and eventually ruled the city. They turned finance into power, and power into dynasty. But the moment politics shifted, their empire of gold turned into dust. Example 3. The Plantation Kings. In the 1600s and 1700s, European settlers in the Americas made unthinkable fortunes. Tobacco, sugar, and cotton grown by enslaved people made them richer than medieval lords. Their plantations were money machines, but their wealth was built on human suffering. And when revolutions came in Haiti, in America, that entire system was wiped out. Here's the pattern. Every empire of wealth followed the same path. Control, expansion, overreach, collapse. Wealth was never safe. A bad harvest, a war, or a single angry king could erase generations of riches. And here's the twist, the same pattern still exists today. Think about it. Old monopolies had royal charters. Today's giants have algorithms and platforms. The Medici controlled information with letters and networks. Modern billionaires control it with data. The Fuggers financed kings. Today's financiers fund governments, campaigns, and wars in new forms. History doesn't repeat, but it definitely rhymes. So, what can we learn from those who got rich centuries ago? Lesson 1. Wealth without control is fragile. The richest understood that owning assets meant nothing unless they could protect them through law, power, or influence. Lesson 2. Every fortune carries the seeds of its own destruction. The moment greed blinds judgment, collapse follows. Lesson 3. The rules change, but human behavior doesn't. Power still seeks monopoly. Wealth still seeks safety. And societies still push back when things go too far. The story of how people got rich hundreds of years ago is not just history, it's a mirror. It shows us how greed builds kingdoms and how time destroys them. So next time you see a billionaire, a tech founder, or a finance empire, remember the Medici, the Fuggers, and the plantation lords. They too once believed their wealth would last forever. It never does. If you enjoyed this story of forgotten fortunes, like the video, subscribe for more, and tell me, which ancient tycoon would you want to trade lives with for one day? Because in history, Every fortune shines bright, right before it burns out.